Hey, welcome back to Teach Your Business to Fish. This is Michael Rager again. Well, we're hoping we got Dave Rudin back with us. We got some technical difficulties. We got him fixed. Dave, are you there?
I'm hoping so.
You're hoping so. Hey, here's the thing I want you to know, dude, is I've got the remote control, and so I can control your volume.
Okay.
So, let's kind of kick back things off. You know, Dave, you and I go back, 10 years now? Ish?
2013.
Yeah, okay. So 8 years, 9 years. You know, when we went to Guatemala together, I think that was it when we were there. So, you know, Dave and I both met. We were in part of the John Maxwell team, and we cause a lot of problems, usually at our conventions, because I host the non-certified John Maxwell team cigar and whiskey drinking group.
The not officially sanctioned, right?
It is not officially sanctioned. John does not show up at that event. I think we're the black sheep of the group when we meet. But Dave, let's go back. We're talking Chicago Leadership Partners. How long has Chicago Leadership Partners been around?
Man, we started probably around the same time, around 2015 or so, I think is kind of when we started officially forming. So it's just it's local John Maxwell team people that we connected with here that are like-minded, kind of in that same vein, with different skills and different backgrounds and different abilities, and even just kind of a picture about where we want to go forward. But we all united together around what kind of the whole idea of leading, helping people to just achieve greater results through the avenue of leadership in particular, like really focused in on that.
Yeah, leadership's important, and it's, as John tells us, everything rises and falls on leadership, and we know that. And, but it's really, I've seen it sometimes when I go into business owners that they want to lead. A lot of times they just don't know how. And whether they like it or not, they're leading some way or another. How do we help them become better leaders? What do you, when you start working with somebody, where do you start?
You know what? Honestly, yeah, you're 100% right. I see this before I get to the answer. I mean, I see it a ton where companies, they move people up into leadership. They move them into a different role. They maybe somebody's been around for a long time, and so they need somebody to manage a team or to take on some division. They move them up, but then they never train them. And the statistics around the number of companies that really say that they do a good job, I think I just saw something, it's only like 13%. There was a study that showed that 13% of companies say they do a really good job of developing leaders. So most don't. So the very first step, I think, it always begins with us. It goes back to really what was our whole mantra in Guatemala was leadership begins in me. Transformation begins in me. Yep. So it always starts with knowing how are you wired, and if you can grow yourself, you can grow other people. But until you grow yourself, you really can't grow other people.
Well, it's usually sometimes we don't even know we don't even know that we suffer with lacks of leadership or things that don't go well. And it's one of my favorite things when I started hearing John Maxwell talk and stuff like this. I started hearing, one of the things he says is go to your people and tell them what you suck at.
Yeah.
And because they already know.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is confirming it. And it's so great, to get somebody to let their guard down. How do you tell people to do that? How do you have leaders go admit that they're bad at something?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the whole thing. It's a matter of being vulnerable and being open, and working with a manufacturing company. And a lot of them they got this gruff exterior around them, and they don't want to with their teams of people, like they don't want to let down their guard, and it becomes almost counterintuitive because people think, yeah, but if I show a weakness, they're gonna attack, and they don't. And once they start to understand, no, it really does. When you go and you ask for help, or you just say, hey, what's your opinion? And you let other people talk, and you listen more than you're talking. That bonds the team, and it actually makes you stronger. And so, but it's counterintuitive, I think, to what most people believe and think about leadership.
Oh yeah, it's tough to be a leader, and it's hard. We're seeing it right now in our country. Is no matter what decision people make right now, half of the people are going to be against them. And so
Exactly.
it's very, 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 very interesting. Tell me a little bit about how you guys in Chicago right now are growing your company in this quote unquote pandemic. What are you guys
Yeah,
doing up there?
well, so here's the question that we've been wrestling with and going through in this whole. There's there's two ways that I've seen people respond. Two ways that I've seen businesses respond to the COVID thing is either they see this time as an interruption or they see it as a disruption. And those that see it as an interruption are basically just like holding on for dear life, thinking, oh, I just got to get past this. As soon as we get past this, it's like they hit pause and they're going to hit unpause and then jump back in. And I think those are the people that are going to be hurting in the long run. But the people that see this time as a disruption are the ones I think that are going to come out ahead on the other side. And so we've been trying to figure out, what is the disruption? What is it that, how are we going to be different? How are we going to be better? And ironically, with our technical issues here today, I mean, that's one of the things is to realize that you can't just do live, face-to-face, one person speaking to a large group of people. That's not going to happen maybe for a while. I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of speaking engagements canceled. And so you're going to have to there's going to have to be some pivot to how are we responding to what the needs are to our clients? How can we do video stuff and live streaming stuff and find other ways to be able to address their leadership concerns and their business concerns? And so I think that's how we've been trying to say, look, we're going to have to stay ahead of the game. And the business field is littered with the carcasses of businesses that refuse to change.
Oh, it is. It is. We're seeing it here in Houston, and every day there comes somebody's posting on Facebook or in the news, oh, that, COVID killed this company. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, that company killed their company because they weren't looking at ways to pivot. They weren't looking at ways to change. They weren't looking at ways to service their clients in this new business culture that we've gotten. We've got to be looking at it. I was actually at a live networking event last night. It was great. They closed the bars here, but they didn't close the Mexican restaurants, so we still had margaritas. So we were social distance. We were all our tables were all 6 feet apart. And we're yelling across the room at each other, but we had to get up and introduce ourselves in our little 30-second spiel. And part of me was, I'm a business coach, a strategy guy, and all my clients are killing it right now. And they looked at me like, what do you mean your clients are killing it? I mean, I got clients right now that are 5 months in a row record sales.
Wow.
And people are like, how are you doing that? And it's like, we're going out and we're doing things that other people aren't.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that it separates out. Now, I mean, it doesn't say that you can't be impacted by it. But I think there's a lot of people that it's just the same thing that we talk about in terms of are you reacting to things or are you responding? That's the other two words that I kick around a lot with clients. Is reacting is more like you're waiting for things to happen to you, and then you're just like that knee jerk. It's not really thought through. You're just kind of throwing stuff out there, or are you responding? Are you being more thoughtful? Are you being more intentional about what you're doing? And I think that's what separates out the good companies from the great. The ones that are going to last in this and the ones that will probably not be killing it, but they'll be killing themselves.
Well, I like to throw out the old football analogy. I just brought out a new coach. He's getting to work for me, and he's up in he's up in he's up in the Grand Rapids area, I think.
Oh, really?
Western Michigan. So, you guys are going to have to definitely meet. But he's a former pro football player. He played in the World Football League, and his business is called Fourth and Profits. And we talk about offense versus defense. Right now is a great time in business to be in the offense. One of my clients right now, his goal is to crush and eliminate 20% of his competition before COVID's over. I mean, what a great way to look at it. I don't want to put these other, I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel bad about putting these other companies out of business, but that's his mentality right now is how do I show everybody that I'm the best and I'm going to take the offensive to get out there.
Yeah. So I think there's a mentality to all that. And that's why I say that the leadership component of this is are you the kind of person that is ready to pivot your thinking? And are you thinking opportunity or are you thinking like again, like on the defensive mode, and like, well, I hope this doesn't happen. And are you living in fear, or are you stepping out boldly in faith, going forward and confidently? And so I think that's all of that plays into what separates businesses out, good ones from great ones.
No, yeah, that's it. It's we got to go and we get that good to great and what's different. And that's it, is this guy, Luis, I think his business is going to be great. He owns several businesses. He just purchased this company, about a year ago, and he's really pushing it to grow. And, and I love those types of business owners. I mean, we really can get a handle on things that they're trying to do. We got about a minute and a half left in this segment, Dave, and I'm going to keep you for a second one because, then we're going to, I don't know, we'll make it a little bit more fun than this business side and go from there. But if they wanted to learn more about Chicago Leadership Partners, where do they go?
Sure. Our website is ChicagoLP for leadershippartners.com. That's probably the easiest. You can find me on LinkedIn or find me around there we go. But so that's our team right now. And reach out. I mean, this has been a great time for us to really rethink and talk alongside about how companies are leading through this, because I think that is the difference maker. It's a leadership issue about, are you taking advantage of opportunities, or are you kind of cowering and reacting and living in fear? So I think that's the people side of things.
It really is. It's just that's what's going on there. So Jonathan, are we about ready to kick out to commercial here? So we're going to kick out to commercial. We're going to get some our sponsors to tell you some stuff about them. And then Dave and I are going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about leading and growing your business, and maybe tell a couple interesting stories from our trips to Guatemala and Orlando. Hey, this is Michael Rager with Teach Your Business to Fish. We're back, and we got David Rudin from Chicago Leadership Partners. Dave, now a lot of people, the one thing they also, I'll share with you, you're my favorite pastor in the world. Pastor Dave is the only pastor I know that smokes cigars and drinks whiskey, and that's what made you my best friend in the world, bud.
I think we just became best friends.
I'm trying to get Juan to allow me to smoke cigars in the studio and bring whiskey.
Not yet.
So as we do that, we're gonna make this a smoke COVID-free environment. So I want to talk a little bit about Guatemala, man. We went to Guatemala. Yeah. You've gone to what? You went to Uruguay, or was it Paraguay?
Yeah, Paraguay and Costa Rica.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, that's right. I wanted to go to Costa Rica, but they wouldn't let me go fishing. They wouldn't let me break away and go fishing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And do that. But man, going around and doing that, we saw a lot. What was the biggest thing you took away, from Guatemala and why we went there? Give us the 30-second synopsis of why we went to Guatemala. Then give me your biggest takeaway.
Yeah, the reason we were invited down by the government, they wanted to bring transformation into the country. And so what we went down there was to teach. We didn't really teach leadership per se. We didn't really teach content. We taught them a process about how to have roundtable conversations around the subjects of personal values and growth and taking responsibility. That's what we were saying earlier, that transformation begins in me. And so it's rather than people pointing fingers at what's the government's problem, it's my boss's problem, it's the economic problem, it's this problem. If we're going to change things, it begins in me. So my biggest takeaway, that phrase I have used over and over, and because I think that is key to everything. And what we did is we went out and led in and trained leaders in 7 different key streams of influence, and leaders in business, in education, in government, in media, in arts and entertainment,
yep,
in the faith communities, and in family communities as well.
Yeah, it was nuts, man. It was fun. I was amazed they let me go, and they let me teach people. And that's, because when we do stuff together, you and I, we always have fun. And I think one of the most fun things that ever happened was the day that we found the dude in the white leisure suit laying in a ditch outside the hotel. And we tried to go back and we'll set the story. Dave and I, we were doing a lot of setup for this John Maxwell conference, and we were driving out, and there's this guy laying in the ditch. and he was in this white leisure suit. And we're like, oh my God, you know, what do we do? And we drove back and got security, and we came back and he was gone. And, you know, they felt like we were lying to him. But that was one of the funniest things I ever remember, you know, happening with you and I. And then we ended up going to eat pancakes at 2 a.m. because that's what you do.
That's what you do. After you're done saving the world, one leisure suit at a time.
One leisure suit at a time, you go to pancakes. You know, coming out, and we, you know, like I said, I hold the unofficial cigar smoking, whiskey drinking thing. Yeah. When we do that, I think we really get a lot going on. How do you have business owners help, you know, get and connect with their people? You know, because that's the important thing, is connecting with people. How do you get business owners to realize that they really do need to connect with their employees? Yeah,
man, you know what? That's $1 million question. I get hired by companies to come in. Again, one company I'm working with, and it's like they know that they need it. They know that that the company and the team needs to grow, and they need to develop as leaders. But there's like this disconnect of like it's for them and not for us. And it's that same principle that we're talking about of transformation begins in me, leadership begins in me. And so it's a hard thing. It is a really hard nut to crack, is to get people to say that, you know, the leader's first step always has to be toward their people. You don't sit back and, you know, the engine doesn't sit there and wait for the train cars to come to it. It backs up and it goes to the train cars. And I think that's what a leader's first job is always to its people, to their people.
Yeah, it is, and I see it's hard all the time to get these guys to realize, you know, it's these people don't just work for me. That's the important thing, to get them out. They don't work for me; they work with me, and you know, get them to change that. You know, I'm working a lot with a lot of my clients right now, company core values, and having them look at the core values of the company. How do you help companies figure out their core values and what they do well?
Yeah, well, we talk about because that's the question that people have a lot, is what about culture? How do we change culture? We want to change culture. And it's almost like they want a workshop, or they want a seminar and, you know, change culture. And so trying to help them to understand it's what you do every day. It's the reinforcement of it. And it's from everybody. It's from top down. It's from every tier, every silo of the company has to be, you have to have these things together. They have to be clear on them. It doesn't matter what they are. They have to be clear on them. They have to be memorable. They have to be simple, so that people can keep pointing back to it. And then you have to keep celebrating those things. So that's what we found typically is, as a lot of companies do, they've written out their values and they've got them on a piece. Maybe they had a workshop, or they did a retreat, and then they came up with these things on a big whiteboard, and they're maybe up on the wall, but a lot of times they're just on a desk, or they're up on a shelf someplace, and they don't get talked about.
Yeah, it's that elf on the shelf, man. It reminds me of Elf on the Shelf at Christmas. Here's our core values, dang it. If you don't follow them, that elf's not going to give you presents. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know, so you got to look at. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, the rest of your bit. You know, you told me once I could come in and teach at your church. I thought that was, you know, not a very smart move of you, but you know, we're gonna talk about my favorite book in the world, and I think this is the favorite book. Is Oh, the Places You Can Go by Dr. Seuss.
Yep.
It really is. If business owners ask me right now what book I should read, and I tell them to read that book, and because it's a simple book that explains, especially with what we're going through with COVID right now, is how to plug through things. Things are not going to always go great. What are you telling your people to read?
You know what? Let me say this before I answer your question, is because I think what you just talked about that with the reason why I like that is that it's about a story, and that people connect with stories. And I think that's the most critical thing for people to understand is, is for leaders to be able to put things in. You know, we joke about that Dr. Seuss book, but I mean, that's really like people listen to that and they'll remember that. And it helps to cut through like all the techno lingo and stuff. And like, let's make this story. People remember stories. That's what John is, you know, he's fantastic. He's a world-renowned speaker because he tells great stories,
Yep.
and people remember those stories. So I think that's a big thing. What am I reading right now, or what I'm telling people? I mean, there's a book that I've been reading called that I read this last year called Hero Maker, and it comes from a faith angle, the faith community, but man, it has profound implications to any industry. And it's the idea of, are you the hero? Are you building this around where you're the hero, or are you helping other people to be the hero? And so that's a big book that's on my list right now. So,
oh man, I teach all my business owners. It's the same concept. I teach all my business owners when we're writing marketing content, working on things. It's not my job to be Luke Skywalker in the story. It's my job to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's my job your job as the business owners to teach your people that work for you and to teach your clients how to be the hero.
Exactly.
You as the business owner don't need to be the hero. So I love that. I love that.
No.
Well, you get to see my first stuff. I showed this book. There's my reading right now, Marlin Magazine. I want you to be very impressed of what I'm reading right now.
I like it.
And that's where I get my business concepts from. But I was talking about this guy, Tony Hsieh, Anthony Hsieh. He's talking about how he looks forward and how he looks backward in business. How do you get your business owners to look forward and backwards?
You know what? So just before we were on the call here, I was just doing a training, and we were talking about the idea of patience and the being able to have in order to move forward and have progress, you got to have, one of the things is to be patient. And somebody was talking about, we were coaching through like how do you deal with that? And I think patience is part of that is being able to, you're always wanting to look forward. If you're action oriented, if you're a high D person and you just want to make things happen, you're always looking for that next big thing, that next hill to conquer. And then you get impatient that you're not getting there quick enough. But I think the other side of that coin is to, if you're struggling with patience, is to also look backwards at what you've done and where you've come from. Here's something fresh right off the presses today. So just today, this Friday will be 1 year ago. We had our house fire. We lost our whole house on a fire. And just today, I brought some boxes. We were able to save some things from that fire, just a very few things, and they've been in storage. And I just brought them back home today, literally. And through this whole process, we've always been impatient about the next step, about getting back into the home. But all along the way, I've also taken time to reflect and look backwards. And you say, man, but I'm so grateful for where we've been and what we've gone through. So I think that's the two sides of that coin that you always have to have. You're looking forward with the new opportunities, but also reflect and learn about where you've been and that sense of gratitude and appreciation even, I think.
No, it's really important. You've got to. There's opportunities ahead, but you got to understand what got you to where you are, and
Exactly.
that helps you capitalize on those new opportunities. Dave, we got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Anything that one last word of wisdom you need to share with anybody?
No, so here's my thing. You were mentioning earlier just about what's going on in our world today, and I just think the answer to it is, and it's our lessons from Guatemala. It is what I'm probably most passionate about these days, is to try to figure out how do we raise and up-level the conversation with individuals, teams, families, across all the streams of influence in any community, to take responsibility for ourselves, and to find the one thing that we can agree on. We can agree on values, that people matter, and that people have value, and that we want to lift other people up, and we want good, peaceful communities, and we want growing communities, and we want people to prosper. So I think that's what Everything Rises and Falls on Leadership. I think that's a leadership discussion, and I think when you train and you develop leaders in a company or in a community or in a country, I think you give hope to that group. You give hope to that country. You give hope to that community. You give hope to that company. And I think that's what leaders do. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is why now you can see why this guy's one of my best friends, and he's great to sit around and smoke that cigar and have that whiskey. Dave, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out there. For those of you, we're getting ready to sign off today. Hey, a couple things I got going on for people. Man, July 29th, you had a couple people that have been on fishing trips with me in the past. We've got another one coming up, July 29th. I got 3 spots left. That's it. If you're interested, call us 713-201-5559. The second thing is I do a lot of writing for a company called Small Business Breakthroughs Magazine, and I've been giving 10 grants of $5,000 to help small businesses grow. And a lot of it'll pay for a lot of my services and some other stuff. If you're interested, there's some qualifications. Reach out to us again. Michael at teachyourbusinesstofish.com. Check us out on the Facebook page, Teach Your Business to Fish. All that good stuff. So, thank all my guests today. I appreciate Lee for coming on here. Dave, you went through some technical difficulties. I appreciate, buddy. That's why you're one of my best friends. This is Michael Rage with Teach Your Business to Fish. Go out there today and make your business a real success. Build relationships, equip your people, be ethical, and lead. You guys go out there, make it a great day.